وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. This is Eid al-Adha, and now I'm speaking at this tone because I have to keep everyone's attention. So I apologize if I come off so strong. As a kid, I never understood why this Eid was there, what this Eid was about. We're celebrating. What are we celebrating? And we understand this is the completion of Hajj. But I don't think we understand what this whole big day is about. We only have two celebrations, and this celebration is not just a celebration of the completion of Hajj, and it's not just a celebration of something that's happening far away. We are reconnecting to our origin story. This is our origin story. This is the beginning of everything. Because if you understand the Hajj, if you understand what happens, all of it is about the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. All of it. The whole Hajj is about one person. And I want you to understand that that person is the only reason that his dua that we got Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We don't know this. The Ummah forgot this. That if you look at the beginning of the story of Ibrahim, I want you to stay with me, pay attention to me, to the end of the story, because the end of this story is the beginning of ours. This is our origin story. This is our identity. This is our story. And so, Ibrahim alayhi salam is the father of all fathers. The father of Musa, the father of Nuh, the father of Yaqub, but he's also the father of Ismail and Rasulullah biologically. But he is the single father, the single spiritual father of all of humanity. There is only one spiritual father, Allah gives us a pinnacle, one person that all of the faiths unite on. One. Why? Why is this whole Hajj about one man? Why is today that 1,400,000,000 people celebrating this day for him? Why? And I want the kids now. I need the kids. I need every kid under 15 to hear me. His story starts with one thing. His father, Ibrahim alayhi salam's dad, was in a place when he worked his whole life to get to the top spot. He was the man, the king of his society, and his society traded in making fake gods. His money, his identity, his business came from one thing. And so you have to understand, Ibrahim alayhi salam as a kid questions his parents, his family, their dignity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so selective in the Quran. He picks and chooses things. And the fact that he picks to take out the questions of a 10-year-old. I want you to think about that. Our story starts when a 10-year-old kid asks questions. And he highlights those questions. Allah loves his curiosity. Allah loves the intellectual. Allah loves the one who questions, who breaks the bound, who challenges the constraints, the rebel, the thinker. يَعْقِلُونَ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. To the kids here, we are the intellectual ummah. To the kids here, we are the most bright. To the kids here, we are the curious. And it's we who move humanity forward because our origin story starts with the intellect of a child. because they beat him. He wasn't crying because of alcohol. He was crying because the next time he said, my parents threw me out of the house and said, never come back. You are not one of us anymore. The pain of being abandoned by your family, to be rejected by your family, to be completely obliterated by your own blood. Ibrahim alayhi salam went through that. Ibrahim alayhi salam comes back, and we know the story. He breaks the idols and all of that to teach a lesson. And then I need you to hear this, guys. I need you to hear this. They got in the room. The leaders of this tribe got in a room and they said, let's decide what to do. Remember, they used to sacrifice humans to their gods. They go, what do you want to do with this kid? They go, it ain't enough to kick him out. Let's go get him, let's burn him. They wanted to kill him and light him up. But here's the thing that in the I remember sitting with a Mufassir in London, and he's telling me the story. He says, in the leaders get together, like, what do we do with the boy? And in the group is the father of Ibrahim. The father of Ibrahim is saying, let's burn him. Let's burn my son. Let's kill him because he has to maintain his identity. He has to maintain his rank because money comes first, because power comes first, because my stand in society came before my blood. Imagine that. And so what happens? They try to burn him. That's the second trauma. And I want you to think about those three traumas. And inshallah, please bear with me. And the second part is al-Adha. I wanted everyone in this room to understand the story of our father Ibrahim. here should recognize what it means for those of us. And my friend, I remember talking about a friend of mine, when he finally met his dad for the first time when he was 18, the dad who left him, the dad who abandoned him, the dad who disappeared. And finally he met him because he discovered that he had a sister who walked up to him. And he said to me, "Hey, I'm your son," and he responds, "Hey, I did my part. I talked to your father, your mom. Don't ever talk to your sister again. Don't ever talk to me again." So, and I saw him great pride. We don't understand, we don't recognize what our fathers do, what our mothers do. And we as a Ummah must love them and recognize the ones, because this same one who told me that story said, "I promise you, I will never, ever treat my child the way that I was treated." And the best dads are those dads, my friends, who know what it's like not to have fathers, are the greatest fathers of them all. And as some of you might know, my dad just passed. This is the first time and last time I can give this Khutbah. This is the first time and last time I can give this Khutbah. My dad just passed. This is my first piece of love now without him. And I want to tell you a story. I'm going to end this Khutbah very quickly. Right before my dad passed, I got the phone call that he caught cancer, and I knew that there was no time left. I was in Chicago, and I thought I would make it back in time to see him alive. He died 5 days after that. I was in so much shock when I got the call that I ran to the hotel. I didn't know what to do, and I made salah. And I made a sujood. And the dua came out of me that I had never made in my life before. And the dua, I knew my dad was about to die. The dua I made was, "Oh Allah, thank you for selecting him to be my father." What a beautiful soul. I never thanked Allah in my life that he picked that person, the greatest dad, to be my dad. And I couldn't control myself. I didn't understand what was going on, so I called one of my friends. And I said, "Can you make sense of what's going on? This dua just poured out of me. I don't know what to feel right now." He said, "Did you know there's an ayah in the Quran just like that? In Surah al-Adha, ayah 15? And listen to this ayah. None of us know this ayah. And how old was I? First time in my life, I'm in my 40s, and the ayah says, when each one of us reaches maturity and reaches the age of 40, look at this. He says, "My Lord, Ya Rabb, inspire me to be grateful, for you have bestowed upon me these parents." The same dua that poured out of me was the dua in Surah al-Adha, "Oh Allah, make me grateful that you selected them to be my parents." Allah, Allah, la ilaha illallah. Are we grateful? Are we grateful? Ibrahim alayhi salam is the biological father of all the prophets and the spiritual father of Ummah. If you are a father, be a great father. And if you are a child, understand the greatest thing you can be is a great parent. And to those who don't have kids, be a spiritual father to our young men, to our teens and their 20s. And I want to end with you guys thinking about this. As my dad was passing, the person was so close to him, she couldn't stop saying these words. My dad was worried, he looked scared. And she just said, "Why are you scared? Why are you worried? You are from Millat al-Ibrahim. You are from the Millat al-Ibrahim, the Punjabi term. Don't be afraid. You're from the people of, you're from the descendant of, you are of the people of Ibrahim. We, everyone in this room, the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we are the people who carry the tradition of Ibrahim. Our story starts with him. And when he makes a dua at the end of his life, when Ibrahim is at the end of his life, he makes a dua that one day there will come a messenger that will clear the house of the Kaaba and make the Ummah. It is the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam at the end of his life Assalamu alaikum.